Sometimes it takes a little time to get things right, Rhett. And sometimes that's talking about, a technical issue if you're a broadcaster. And other times it's a hockey team that finally starts getting their shit together around, the 65th game of the season. Welcome back to Afterburner. It's Ryan Pinder and Rhett Warner.
I would rather it's us screwing it up than the Flames screwing it up.
Yes, and I hope that, it's now 4 wins in a row for the Calgary Flames. We can get on a nice, hot, non-tech issue winning streak as well.
Can you imagine if all the worlds come out?
Everyone gets on a heater, all the world's problems.
Holy.
So we did about 5 minutes of chitter chatter, and this will probably, some people caught that live, but it will not be around for the others. So it might be a little, but we should revisit a lot of the things that we did mention. 5-4, Calgary beats Anaheim. Of note, 0 comebacks through 75 games this NHL season for the Calgary Flames when trailing after 40. Of note, game 76 and 77, they trailed after 40 and won them both.
Big W's. Trailed after 22, I think, in both games. So,
down 2-0,
yeah,
I believe.
Couple goals. Yeah, deficit. So, the game in Vancouver, I actually felt confident that they were going to come back. I thought they were absolutely carrying it, play to the Canucks, and they were outworking them, and they had all the momentum. I was a little worried at the flat start today, and Markstrom not being sharp. And the fact that they came out, scored 3, got the lead, and then dropped it, gave up 2 more goals. That was a worrisome moment for me. But hey, Michael Stone, shoot the puck. Shoot the puck, Michael.
Just like you've been yelling, get Stone back. When is he going to get healthy? We're missing our secret, the better Stone brother. Something like that, right?
Yeah, that's exactly.
That was exactly
what
we said.
While we watched the third period, yeah.
And Nick Ritchie, 2 points. Which, all right.
I had some criticisms that I'm not going to dive into, but
after the win,
after while I was watching the game, I'm like, why? What is don't do that. Then you look at the stat line, like, oh, okay, they're okay.
Winnipeg won earlier today. They've actually looked very good since returning home. They're 2-0 on this 5-game road trip. They won't play again until they play Calgary on Wednesday. The Flames still have to play Chicago on Tuesday, and Winnipeg will be the 3rd game in 4 nights of the Calgary Flames. It'll be the second half of a back-to-back. We saw some changes to the lineup. We saw a goalie pull after 20. How much of that do you think is related to the 3 and 4 that began with tonight's not pretty, but a 2-point victory over the Ducks tonight?
I think a lot of it, and I think Vladar wasn't exactly stellar, but he gets the win. And I said before 10 minutes ago, I said I'd play him again on Tuesday because I think that you could probably beat Chicago with Vladar. I don't know if you want to take a bunch of risk, but I think you should be capable of making that happen. Markstrom looked tired. Give him an extra day because you know damn well he's going to have to go against Winnipeg, and he's going to have a big game that night. So
I don't like the idea of Markstrom back-to-back nights with travel in the middle.
Yes.
And I know he's done it before, and I understand that Daryl's certainly not afraid to do something like that. And as good as he's been since the turn of the calendar from February to March, which I think coincided with the birth of his son, I do believe that it would be nice if they didn't have to roll him out for the 3rd start in 4 nights in Winnipeg on Wednesday.
Send him to Winnipeg whenever today or tomorrow, whenever he feels like going. Go to Winnipeg and just rest and get ready for Wednesday.
It's beautiful this time of year.
Let's go.
I've never been to Winnipeg.
Wolf nice to come up and play back up or get a game. I don't know.
Not a bad idea. I kind of like that one. We're using one of those recalls.
We were making changes to the lineup before they came back and won this game. Like, Ritchie was out, in my opinion, and Pelche was coming back, and then he had a couple points, so probably won't happen.
Well, and a couple things there. So they did change the lines, but also if you watch this game, you were at this game, or you turned this game off, we understand why. This game was right into the scar tissue of what has killed this team this year. Against bottom dwellers and teams that they're vastly superior to on paper, especially when you watch Flames play teams like Tampa Bay and other strong sides, they've really had their worst games against bottom feeders in this league. They're not overmatched often by playoff teams, and they often look listless and disinterested against the bottom of the league. So why the coach changed lines, why we talk about line changes, why I had buddies saying, I can't do this anymore, I'm walking the dog, because this game was right in the scar tissue. It felt like a Chicago in January, or Columbus on the road in the fall. This was game.
But that's why he did change a bunch of the lines and move guys around, and they did find a way We said it earlier in the year, when you're going into a game like Chicago, or even maybe today, you play the young kids, because guess what? The young kids aren't going to be flat.
No.
They're jacked up. This is playoff hockey, NHL. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, and I'm not necessarily going to bang the drum for Matthew Coronado to make his NHL debut. We don't know how he looks against pros, but Jacob Pelche had a really, really good stretch of play. And it's not all about points. And sometimes with rookies, it's like, well, they're not good on the defensive side, so if there's no points, but that's not been Pelche. He's been a well-rounded 200-foot guy. If you put him in tonight or on Tuesday against Chicago, would you not expect to see a bit of a lift energy-wise from him?
I do. I totally expect. Who's creating the energy? I would say Walker Duehr has created a ton of the energy for the whole team, and I think Pelche falls in the same lane.
Yeah.
He plays with pace. He's going to be excited. You see when he was scoring goals or when he was on a line and the other guys on his line were scoring goals, he's jacked up for this. Yeah. He's pumped up.
And so it's a tight stretch of hockey. They had a little bit of a breather, and now it's 3 in the next 4 nights. They somehow get 2 points. Just their second comeback of the year is noted after 40, second in a row. And it's a bad Chicago team coming in. And then the biggest game of, it might be your season. I feel like a loss against Winnipeg probably cripples you, even though they finished the season with Minnesota and Colorado. But a win, conversely, puts you in the driver's seat. You control your own destiny in theory if you can get through the next 2.
And I think you said if they have to beat Detroit and they got to beat Winnipeg.
Chicago, yeah.
Or pardon me, Chicago, and then they got to beat Winnipeg. So they would actually leapfrog and be in a playoff spot after that game if it happens.
And I think 2 points up on the Jets, with the Jets holding
they'd hold the game in hand. But I just think that's a mental hurdle. If you can get in there, you've done something, right? It sends a message to Winnipeg. It makes it tougher for them. A lot of what ifs, but it would be nice to be sitting in that position on Thursday morning.
Okay, so I want to revisit the lines with the idea of Tuesday's game and another game Wednesday coming up. We will get to our cheers of the game for BK Bowfort Liquor in a moment. Also buy it or sell it for Newman Dean's Real Estate Group with CIR Realty. Let's go back to another couple items from the game, though. Markstrom comes out after 20, and you had said you'd love to see Vladar Tuesday. I would too. The poll after 20 tells me Daryl wants to go to Markstrom on Tuesday. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think he does as well. And I get the reasoning behind that. He's your number one. He has played very well. Mm-hmm. Issue being he's starting to look fatigued.
Yeah.
And you've got a back-to-back situation and 3 and 4, and he's been playing a lot of hockey. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you're rolling the dice. If you start Vladar and he's not good, you're going to be, and you don't win that game, you're going to put a noose around your own neck, right? Like you're kind of, but if you do it and it turns out the way you want it, I think you've given yourself a better chance in that Winnipeg matchup.
Markstrom has played in 16 of their last 17 games.
Yeah. It's a lot of hockey.
It's a shit ton. And to be fair, like he finally in that stretch
he looked
like himself. Yeah. And it's like, ride the hot hand. I get it. But now it's a 3 and 4. And I think it's a conversation. I'm sure we'll have it tomorrow on Barn Burner as well on a Monday morning. Okay. Let's do the cheers. That's probably a good spot to go. We'll talk about the lines later on. Cheers to the game for BK Bowfort Liquor. You know where they are, right across from Winsport. On your way out of town, pick up a nice bottle of something special. Maybe it's some fine wine. Maybe it's a craft beer, spirits. They got that fancy tequila that Mr. Boom likes. Say hi to Mandeep and the folks at BK Bowfort Liquor. You can, again, find the phone number and email address on your screen there for more information. Would you like to lead, or would you like to hear my cheers first?
You go ahead if you got one lined up.
So when they added Troy Stecher in trade, Boom lost his mind, because I've always loved Troy Stecher the human, because I was working in Penticton when he joined that team from major midget to junior A hockey. And so it's like, okay, your biases. Don't scream from the hilltops, Troy Stecher's the greatest human ever. Even if, knowing the human in the family, he is a great guy. He's been very good for this team. He's stabilized that third pair for them. He's played on his offside tonight, the left side of that third pair, as Michael Stone came in and played the right. but he's been zipping it around. The points have followed. He had a monster night against Vancouver. He followed up again tonight with that point shot that gets tipped in by Ritchie. And he's not your best player, but I think he's given them something they needed. He's moved the puck well. And I think what it is, he's a guy that fucking cares a lot. And some of the guys you wonder about, and this is a guy that's given it everything he's got.
I've loved how he's played and the energy. And I think what you're saying there is probably the most important part. He cares about it.
Yeah.
Even though he's just come here, he's just bought in. You can tell that he's a guy that, I care about winning and I want to win. And come on, guys. He's trying to drag everyone into the fight. So he's a great pick.
I also think about a guy that spent 5 or 4 months in Arizona, and I understand it's loose and it's sunny, and he might come into this room and see some long faces and be like, fellas, you're in the hunt. Do you know how good this is? Like, these games fucking matter. Yeah. And I'm just speculating, but there would be a bit of that lift and how invested you can get into a game when a game actually matters. And I understand a lot of these bottom dwellers are playing loose, but I mean, if you're Troy Stetcher, you'd probably lying if you give him the truth serum. He doesn't give a shit about dog poo in Calgary.
It's way more. It's way more fun to play hockey games that matter. It's hard to play beer league when you're in the NHL.
9-3-2 in their last 14 games. You had noted it last week. You came in studio here and you were like, these guys, I looked at it. I heard they were 7-3-2. Like, that's actually pretty good. They've added 2 wins since then and have 4 in a row for the first time all year. They hadn't had 3 in a row until Friday night in Vancouver. Since early December, I don't know that tonight's like a, hey, look how good they're playing, but you certainly like 4 in a row.
No, but the teams that are in the playoffs and comfortably have found ways to win these types of games for the first 75 games, right? And if you add 2 or 3 more to the Flames point total, you're sitting pretty good.
Yeah.
So it isn't always about painting a Picasso. Sometimes you just grind it out and get a victory. And that's where the Flames have fallen short a lot of nights. They get against a team they should beat on paper, and they can't get the energy to go out there and get it done. So I said when there was 7 games left and Winnipeg had lost, I said, we got 7 to go. Let's get invested.
Screw the other.
The rest of that, none of that matters. Mm-hmm. We're winning games. They've won 2 out of the 7. Let's go. Keep the party rolling.
Yeah. Okay. So 5 to go. The playoff picture remains same as it's been. Winnipeg's won their last 2, as have Calgary. They remain 2 points back. In reality, they're 3 points back. Winnipeg will not be caught on a tiebreak. If you're going to end up tied on points, Winnipeg's in, you're out. Cruel, but true. So essentially, it's a 3-point bulge, but you play them once. So there's also, an element of there's a lot of things you can control here. Winnipeg also finishes the season with the Wild and Avalanche, who are currently jockeying for top spot in the Central Division. That also has Dallas in there. Those are quite probably very important games down the stretch for Minnesota and Colorado, not kick your feet up games. Where are you at confidence-wise with this group?
I'm confident. I think they enjoy being the hunter.
Yeah.
And I think they're taking, I think they are buying into the fact that, you know what, we may not have been very good this year, and we've let a lot of things slip, and we haven't played up to our potential, but it's right there for us. And they've found a way to win when the games mattered. So stop critiquing it. It could very easily have come back tonight after watching them give up or losing in Vancouver by 2, down by 2 again tonight. Those were the games in the first 75 they never found, not once, never found a way to win those games. They've done it 2 in a row. I would prefer they don't have to come back in the third all the time. That would be fine too. But they're there and they look invested. There is some joy in Mudville, I guess. When you look at the faces, it's not all dreary right now.
Yeah, no, and look, it was the role players that got it done tonight. When you look at the score sheet, we've talked about the tough season Andrew Mangiapane's had. He was at 7 halfway through the year. Yeah. He's at 16 now, which tells you he's had a better second half, and he's, they moved him around tonight, but that's I haven't minded him when he's been on that top line with Lindholm and Toffoli. He scores the first. Zadorov gets 10 on the year. It's a little give and take with Zadorov's game, but the give of 10 is a career high. Again,
That's a good number for him. Like
yeah.
10 that's a lot of goals, and he does a lot of things, and then he does a lot of things he shouldn't.
They were down 2-0 after 20. Those 2 goals tie it in the second, and they follow that up with another goal. Nick Ritchie tipping a Troy Stetcher shot, his 13th of the season. That's a bigger number than I thought it would be. And he's kind of been picking up points here and there as a Calgary Flame. Ritchie, certainly a depth piece, a guy that you acquired at the deadline from Stetcher, a guy you get at the deadline. And then the final 2 goals, Milan Lucic to tie the game early in the third. And then with 2 minutes and 38 seconds left, Michael Stone. This was the mucker's night at the office for goal scorers.
I was ripping on the fact that Lucic was on the ice when he scored. I honestly was. I'm like, how can you have that 4th line out there? It's a must-win game, 3rd period, offensive. Hey, nobody is upset that Lucic scored. We're all happy for him. I still wonder why he was up there, but awesome.
Michael Stone as well has missed a lot of time with injury, and we saw get back onto the ice at practice before the Vancouver game. Look, he's not an all-star, but give a guy credit. A lot of people, myself included, thought that when that blood clot issue arose, it was over.
Yes.
They ended up buying him out only to have Juuso Välimäki suffer an off-season training injury, and then signed him essentially to a league minimum deal. And then it's been PTO.
5 years in a row of that.
I mean, they can't quit Michael Stone. And to be fair, since that blood clot issue went away and that ate a lot of time up, he's been a phenomenal soldier. Hasn't had to play a lot some seasons and has come in rather what you'd expect to be rusty, but he's just not. I think that's a harder thing to do than people realize. He's been a consummate professional and fighting back from injury here. That's a big ass goal with less than 3 minutes left.
Well, it isn't easy coming back. He's not fleet of foot to begin with.
No.
So it's tough to duplicate game situations in practice and through injury and trying to get back into shape. You got to give him applause for going through all that and sticking it out and battling. So
I would suggest the lion's share of professional hockey players would not have stuck with it as long as he has.
Yes.
To return to becoming a pseudo regular or a 7th defenseman.
Yeah, and I don't know that if Shillington's here that he's probably getting that ice time, but
injury,
the point of it is he doesn't care about that. He'll go about his work honestly and the practices. I don't think he ever is disillusioned as to what he is, and he shows up and goes about and does it all correctly, professionally, works his ass off, and I think the guys like him. I think he's very well respected.
That would actually be another decent nominee for our Cheers to the Game for BK Bowfort Liquor against Adam Andeep and the gang across from Winsport. BK Bowfort Liquor at gmail.com for more information there. Okay. Buy it or sell it. This is where I'm going to tie in the line changes we saw and the roster personnel changes we saw for tonight's contest. It's the first of 3 and 4. They're just back from Vancouver. And I don't know what we have on the injury front in terms of bumps and bruises versus where a guy is through 76, 77 games in a season. But we did see Michael Stone in. We did see Gilbert come out. And we haven't seen shuffles up front. Then in the game, when things aren't going well offensively for the Flames, they swap the lines up. Mangiapane goes from the top line down to playing with Kadri and Nick Ritchie. Dubé back up to the top line next to Foley and Lindholm, which we've seen a lot of this season. And there was a swap on the right side between the second and the fourth line. Walker Duehr comes up to play with Jonathan Huberdeau and Michael Backlund, and going down to play with Lewis and Lucic was Blake Coleman, who set up that game-tying goal in the third period. Thoughts on the changes? And I guess the buy it or sell it is, do you expect, or here's the statement, expecting some changes to the lineup and or roster for Tuesday's game against Chicago at home, because Wednesday's game is the biggest of the season by a few thousand miles in Winnipeg against the team you're chasing. Are you in with some changes to the lineup, or are you saying Darryl ain't changing shit?
Well, if I'm answering myself, I would say I'm in. I would make the odd change. If I'm pretending to be Darryl, he ain't doing it.
Yeah,
I'm selling it. Darryl is not going to change a winning lineup, and the guys that we put to question, like Ritchie, Lucic, who you look at it, he gets a couple points. I think Darryl leaves him. You know, there's something to be said about. Well, I might not have liked how Richie looked, but he did have some points, and the results were good. So I don't think Darryl changes a damn thing. So I'm selling it.
Buy it or sell it is for Derrick Newman with Newman Dean's Real Estate Group with CIR Realty. Give him a call, 403-619-6661. Staying with it. Why? So saying what you're saying, and I agree with you, like winning lineup, Darryl likes guys in certain spots, and if the team's winning, well, I put him there, we're winning. Why would I change it? When you see Stone come in, does that make you worry about Gilbert's availability, or does that make you think, hey, Stone's now healthy and he's higher in the pecking order?
I didn't think Gilbert was great in Vancouver, and I think Stone is finally ready. And I think if you're the coaching staff, you probably looked at this team and said, this is a spot. This is a spot where at home we can control the last change. We can spot duty Stone where we need or want him, and this is a good place to get him, because if we do need him down the stretch here some more, and he can be effective with his shot, like
it's a weapon.
It's. I like how Gilbert plays. I like his emotion and his compete. He doesn't have a unique skill set like Stone with that shot that gives him something special. Like you put Gilbert out there and he's going to work hard. That's great. You put Stone out there, you have something that a lot of guys in the league don't have in that hard shot.
It's the one elite tool, right?
Yes.
And it's like we were joking about it. It's like he's always got to rip that slap shot. Well, yeah, he does, because that's his bleeping ticket to playing in the league.
Yeah.
The skating's not good enough to do otherwise, but it's the shot. You can put him on a second power play unit. And where was he late? Ripping one. You know, this is a guy that can clock it in the 90s, no sweat with that clapper, and off the post and in is a pretty big fucking goal.
And I don't think Dennis Gilbert scores that goal.
No.
So
I agree with that.
That's so let Stone play if he's going to do that.
Would you expect Gilbert and Stone both to play, given that you have a game Tuesday and a game Wednesday in two different cities? Are you at that spot now where maybe Sutter rotates, or is it stay hot hand?
It's a good question, because Stone hasn't been he's been injured, so he's missed a lot. And you might look at it and go, well, we need to give him a rest. Like, he's got to get back into game shape. And
like, welcome back. Here's 3 and 4.
Yeah. On the other hand, I don't think you're relying on Michael Stone to play 20 minutes. Right. So if you're spot duty 12 minutes a night, you should be able to handle it. You should be in that good a shape. So I don't know. If he scores that big goal, I think he gets the next game. And I think if they win that, Darryl ain't changing the lineup.
Yeah. So and the other thing is, we don't know, like, it's 77 games in now. How is Dennis Gilbert feeling after game 76? I know he hasn't played in all of them, but that's a thing that everyone's dealing with. And if you're the cuspy 7-8 guy, and remember, Tanev's out and Shillington's not here, these guys are way down the depth chart if they're fully healthy.
Yeah.
They ain't. I don't know that there's a massive gap between the games that you get. They're different games, but I would think there's some people prefer Gilbert and others prefer Stone. I think they're rather comparable type guys. If one guy's like gimping a bit, give him a couple days.
They're both sixth defensemen. And
if they're playing,
and Stone has a hard shot, and Gilbert will fight. So what are you looking for? Are you worried about going into Winnipeg and being able to maybe score on the power play and set up Stone for a one-timer, or you want to go in and play with a little more bite, right?
And I guess you're right. I mean, we'll see what happens against Chicago, because that sets the table for all that.
That's the thing. You start looking ahead. Darryl will be good at this, not allowing his guys to start thinking about Winnipeg, but it's a very easy trap to fall into.
It'd be hard not to,
right? Like,
everyone knows.
What are we thinking about? Well, get through Chicago. How are you going to line up there? How are you going to maximize your lineup and rest to make sure you're ready for Winnipeg? You shit the bed against Chicago, the Winnipeg game is almost irrelevant.
Would you like me to remind you how the season series has gone with Chicago?
Not well.
You and I did an afterburner where they blew it and lost in overtime. And then we also saw them get thumped at home in one of the stinkiest games of the season in the Saddle Dome, like probably a couple bottom 10 efforts of the season against the Hawks. I think desperation's quite different now. But again, you'd hope they've learned their lessons, that if you're looking past Chicago, I think they should know what they're going to get at this point. And I understand Chicago's dead last and they want Connor Bedard. Check all those boxes for Anaheim as well tonight. They gave him a handful. There was not a big gap.
And you know what else you can check? Connor Bedard's playoff goal total after 2 games.
He's doing all right.
Yeah, he's
3 tonight.
My old squad's not. So.
Yeah,
no good.
It's early.
Yeah, they were.
And the Saskatoon's got to be a huge underdog, right? Or
yeah, no, they were.
No,
home.
they're the favorites.
They had 15 to 17,000 fans cheering them on.
Oh, that's right, the big crowds. Yeah.
Anyway,
and just to wrap the thoughts on lineup changes for buy it or sell it for Derrick Newman of Newman Dean's Real Estate Group with Sierra Realty. Love the idea of going to Vladar. I'm also with you that I don't think Daryl will on Tuesday, given that I think a lot of pulling Markstrom is to change momentum, but also to say, hey, this is 3 and 4. Call this your off night. You're going to play the next 2.
Yeah, you got the next 2 coming, buddy. So get ready. The one thing I would do it, but if he does play, again, trying not to look past it, but go out and get the damn lead, Flames.
Yeah.
Like a 3 or 4 goal lead, and let him have a bit of a cakewalk game on Tuesday night, if that's possible.
There hasn't been a lot of I'm trying to remember how that San Jose game went. I think that was a little more leisurely, but since then, you get a white knuckler against LA. You're chasing all game against Vancouver. Yeah. Anytime you look good, you give it right back. 2-0 there, 2-0 again tonight, and they get that 3rd goal. You're like, okay, where they go. I wonder if you were thinking the same thing I did. It's the shift after that 3-2 goal, after watching Vancouver, where they finally get that goal, and it's like next shift back the other way, bang, bang. Oh, it felt like, fellas, I've seen this script. Don't allow a goal this next shift. There it is. Fuck.
That's what I said.
Why do you make it so hard?
That's what I said on Twitter on Friday night. I said, I finally cheered a goal for that. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, right. Just as soon as they got it, it was gone again. Here's the last 5 games. We've talked about the schedule. It's now not feeling like reading a shopping list. There's so few games left in this season. Chicago in Calgary on Tuesday. They have 2 games on the road. Wednesday, which is the second half of that back-to-back we've talked about a ton. Saturday night at home, at Vancouver again. So another road game in Vancouver. And then they close out with 2 at home. Nashville, which may or may not be a huge game. I mean, the way that it's gone in the West, Nashville's playing good hockey. Winnipeg's looking like all of a sudden back at home they're playing good hockey. The Flames are getting results, even if it ain't pretty. So the Nashville game on Monday the 10th feels huge still. And then they'll close their season Wednesday against San Jose. Interestingly, the Jets and Predators both play not only after the Flames season is done, but I think Nashville plays twice. They play Thursday and the Friday. Like that, you could very conceivably be in a spot where you've gotten to a point total and you're now watching 2 games on Thursday and then potentially another game on Friday when there's only 2 games in the entire NHL schedule left to see whether you get in or not. That'd be wild.
It might be wild. The thing that's scaring me these days, I love how the Flames are playing, and it's awesome. I was hoping Winnipeg wouldn't go home and start to look that good.
Well, the Devils are a good team. They beat them pretty handily tonight.
Yeah.
And they filled the net with ease the game before that. It's
I don't want them having confidence.
Yeah, and it's a reminder of why the probabilities were better for them. As bad as they were playing, it's like, oh yeah, they're still a good team that has a lot of skilled players. I think it was all the guys that were the issues we talked about: Wheeler, Scheifele, Ehlers, Connor.
Yeah,
they all got on the score sheet.
All of a sudden,
2 games ago, I was like, oh yeah, they're back home for 5 in a row. They're feeling good. Their last 2. The first 2 of the 5-game homestand. Detroit, they spanked 6-2. New Jersey, 6-1. 12 goals in 2 games at home. Feeling better, boys?
Yeah, and I think Jersey's played a pretty good season. They don't typically lose that type of game.
Okay, anything else front of mind for you? You get 2 points tonight. It wasn't pretty.
Front of mind now is do not look past Detroit.
Chicago.
Why do I keep saying Detroit?
Are you looking past it? I
feel
I'm
like
that even.
Do we even play Detroit the rest of the year?
No, they're done.
Yeah, that's done. So, okay, don't look past Chicago. You absolutely cannot. Take day off tomorrow. Come back to the rink. Quick skate. Tuesday morning.
Okay.
Get after Chicago.
4 in a row. 9-3-2.
They're going to have to win a lot of the rest.
Yeah, they are. I mean, okay, so there's 5. Let's say they win 4. It's like, that's good. But if your one loss is to Winnipeg,
what's their point total at?
Let's pull it up. I've got it right here. They are at 87 points. There are 10 points left. The max
So
you can
4
get to
gets
is
you
97.
So 97's the most.
95 would be 4 victories. And that's always that number. As funny as we
That's
said it,
that,
season
yeah.
over season, we're like, 95 is usually a number that you can get in with.
Yeah.
That would be 4 or 5.
It'll be tight, though.
Oh.
Hey, enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the
ride. We're finally having some fun watching this team play.
It is, yes. And look, it might end with your heart getting ripped out of your chest, still beating and banging your head against a wall saying, why do I do this to myself? How can I continually support, this team or pro sports? Why does this hurt me so much? But again, the alternative that you've reminded us of, the death march of the final 15 games, there's nothing worse.
If they'd have dropped a couple games over the stretch, and
even one,
you would have been watching Connor Bedard play in Saskatoon tonight as opposed to watching this game, because you'd been like, don't care, lose please, because maybe we'll get a chance at this kid.
It's a fair point. All right, we'll be back with Barn Burner tomorrow. Rhett remains in Calgary. Life update, everything's okay.
Battling a hangover. Those Wagyu tomahawk steaks.
Oh yeah, baby. Yeah. All right, and I think I might have the chipmunk face going from the ski goggles today. So good weekends. We'll give a wrap on those Monday morning with Barn Burn. I'm sure Dean was out and about doing all.
Living it up. Yep.
It's only one way to go.
He was about town.
We'll be live in studio, all three of us again. Thanks for watching. Again, big thanks to our sponsors, BK Bowfort Liquor, Mandeep and the gang, and also Derrick Newman of Newman Dean's Real Estate Group with CIR Realty. We'll be back with a Barn Burner 10:40-ish. YouTube tomorrow, 10:50. And of course, wherever you find your podcast. Thanks for listening. Appreciate it.